Welcome. You're listening to the Debugging Dan podcast. Join me on my morning walk. Topic for today is second brain. So the second brain is a term I've been encountering a lot for the past few months, and it's also a pre-AI LLM term. A short synopsis, as I understand it, is a second brain is a system that you use to store information to find it back later. Notion, for example, is a popular tool to do that. You set up a simple or elaborate system to store information, to do your planning, store meeting summaries, meeting notes. And pre-LLM AI era, you all needed to do those things manually. And now you can have LLMs do it, or at least a part of it automatically for you. So summarizing, searching, things like that. And it's something that is popular on Twitter. Not that I use Twitter anymore, but it's you see it shared a lot there, is what I've heard. There are a lot of short YouTube videos of people explaining, hey, how to do a second brain. And I've also been toying with the idea in my primary brain, as it were. But I think there are a few challenges or difficulties with it that I'd like to think about out loud. So the basic premise is, or at least the version that I'm going for, is a simple version that where you store Markdown files, or you store audio files that then get transcribed to Markdown files. And with AI, the big idea is that you organize them into folders yourself, or even have the AI do that based on content. You place an agents.md file, for example, in a root folder, explaining that this is the second brain, the method that you use, the rules, so that the AI understands what's happening. And you use a tool like Obsidian to point to that specific folder on your system. So you're able to view, edit, create the Markdown files yourself. You have some hooks or watch things set up so that if you download a PowerPoint, a PDF, a docx file, MP4, a video, they get processed automatically into a more accessible text-only format. And then you have a prompt set up that tells the AI to automatically summarize or a specific folder. That's the way that I look at it in terms of definition or simplicity. You could add, well, that's more about storing the information, and retrieving is using your agent, like Claude, Codex, Cursor, to ask questions. So, hey, what did we discuss about the topic of stock inflation, or some other weird example? And the AI then knows, then goes out, tries to find the relevant Markdown files, and composes those into an answer. Or you ask it to start writing a document based on the information, like a statement of work, or a new design or thing, even a requirements document based on some template. And it goes out, fetches the information, and writes the document for you, which is then added to the second brain and also used as input. So it's about saving information first and then retrieval. And you can complicate it more by, for example, adding an additional layer, which is also more complex. The complexity then stems from adding an additional things on top of it. So you could have a piece of software index all the Markdown files using a RAG, retrieval augmented generation technique, where you basically build a search index that your agent can then access to better search for the files instead of grabbing and opening all files it thinks are relevant to make the search more efficient or better. But that does mean that you need to have a search index available that's always up to date. Your files need to be indexed. No, not only indexed, they also need to be tokenized so that they can be stored. And the RAG does that with a vector-based system. And you could use Postgres for that, but there are also RAG-specific tools available. But that adds more complexity and more challenges. And there's even another challenge that I'm thinking about, which I'm not there yet because I haven't started yet really, is on sharing it. So if you were in a professional environment with your second brain, you might want to give colleagues access to parts of your second brain with meeting notes that you had with a customer, for example, your personal notes, which other colleagues might want to use to get up to speed with that specific customer or create their own statement of work. And then it's no longer just a file set up on your local folder. It's also about sharing specific folders within your second brain, how that then integrates into the second brain of the other person, which might also have more relevant customer information documents. So that's also kind of important, but that's on a whole other level. But if you go back to basics, it's about storing Markdown files, having the right structure, the right way of working so that it works optimally for AI. And I haven't found that optimal structure yet. Carpathy, which is someone popular on X, I believe he also coined the term vibe coding. He shared some interesting tweets that a colleague sent me about how he does this. And I think it's just about getting started, finding out what works best for you, and then iterating and iterating and iterating on the system to improve quality, to improve token efficiency. And at some point, get into the zone with your second brain, making it really assist you when you need information instead of being basically a box of data where it's hard to get information. And as I mentioned, it's something I need to really get into yet myself. But what I'm thinking of right now is creating a specific folder structure with topics on the root level. Topics could be things like customers or projects or other activities. And then within each top level structure, I create subfolders, meetings, notes, presentations, could be anything. And I might even have per type prompts telling it how to index, how to summarize based on the type of information or contents that it contains. I want to set up a small script that watches files that are uploaded or copied to the folder and transform it to Markdown automatically. That's what I'm currently starting at, and I want to try to find the right structure and the right prompts for the agent to find the information. And for me, what's important is more the generation of new items out of the existing content than really having a second brain and a memory and finding what things are discussed, because currently I'm not having a really hard time doing that in my Slack or my email. And that's most important for me, is I find the correct information, and then also having the right steps to generate a new document. So I'll probably have some templates. For example, what does a statement of work look like, or a design document, or a technical document, or a requirements document. And based on the information, I would then ask the agent to follow several steps. So find the information, first step, then set up a high level set of chapters or short introductions based on the information that you found, and then go over each chapter and then try to find more relevant information related to that chapter, and then fill it in. And after that, go through the entire document to find out if there are any inconsistencies or other things that need to be updated, checked. And there might even be some steps in between there asking me for verification or validation on specific information where it needs to be included or not. And I think what's often overlooked, what is often not mentioned or included in all those tutorials that explain to you how to set up your second brain, is how to maintain it. So if you just keep storing information in there, how do you make sure that it remains of a proper quality? For example, relevancy. If something stored over meeting or meeting notes that are over a year old, is that still relevant, or should it be ignored? Could you perhaps introduce some kind of weighing system that you can give the agent prompt saying, hey, if information is more than 6 months old, you can include it, but make it less relevant, or verify with me if it's still relevant. And you might even have it store some kind of decision notes after it has asked if a certain file or meeting note is still relevant, whether it then does store the decision or the choice that I gave it, whether it's relevant or not, so that it doesn't need to ask it the next time for a few weeks or months. I think that's where part of the challenge is going to lie. And I still need to find out where then the biggest friction is. Is it in keeping the notes, keeping it up to date, making sure it's complete? It's also important. Or more on the other element, on the retrieval quality. Is it able to find all related items, and can I get away with a more simple setup with only the agent? And or do I need to set up some kind of brag solution? And what does it do in terms of cost? Do I really need one of the high performing models to make sure that I have all the information? Or is there a lower performing model which is cheaper? Is that enough? So those are things that I'm going to find out in in the next weeks or months, probably. And yeah, that's my take on a second brain. I've explained what it is, how I'm going to approach it. Let me know if you already have experience with using or setting up a second brain. If you have any tips or would like an update on how my second brain is working for me in the next couple of weeks. You can find the podcast on YouTube. You can leave a comment in Spotify. Send me an email. I'm also on Blue Sky. You can find it all in the description. And that's it for now. Have a nice day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.